Let's talk about a guy that does remind you of an earlier age in Georgia football. Stacy Searles is now building the Great Wall of Georgia, and it is looking pretty good right now with the RPM that Jake Rowe put in for a guy right up the road out of Walton High School. And we'll start right there, but it could get even better this month, fellas.
Yeah, it could and it should. I think Georgia left this month with some great momentum with some big names. You get some momentum with Calhoun. You felt like you had that going into June, and then I feel like that's kind of been confirmed throughout. Nair Daniels felt like you made huge strides with him. I know that's another one Jake Rowe got that RPM on for. And then I'm going to butcher this guy's last name, but Michael Uini?
Weenie.
Is it Weenie?
I don't know. That's what I want to say every time.
UINI is how you say how you spell his last name.
Uini sounds right.
Yeah, that was not a guy I really had on the radar coming into that official visit. I thought that was more of a cursory visit, and then you leave there and you feel pretty confident, I think, about where Georgia stands. In it with Alabama for sure, but I mean, kind of brought it neck and neck by all indications. So, overall, things sitting well on the Dogs' offensive front. Chances the same too with Jonathan Daniels. You felt good coming out of that visit. Florida State's still the team to beat there, in my opinion, but a lot going on that offensive front. And it should be noted, and we try to talk about this over and over again, it's not a good year for OLine nationally. It's slim pickings out there. I'm not saying there's not some great players available, but slim pickings for the amount of top players out there. So Georgia, I think if they're able to land these guys that they're thinking or that they feel good about right now, I think it'd be a hell of an accomplishment and a hell of a class for girls.
I'm really getting caught up in the weeds trying to get on this stream right now and comment myself through my own personal Twitter, personal YouTube account. So I kind of lost track of what was going on there. But I will say this. Stacy Searles is delivering a massive stiff arm right now because this class is down. And Wes and I talked about it in a recent video. There's an inordinately small number of offensive linemen inside the top 100 recruits in the country. I brought up the analogy of the example of Andrew Thomas and how I believe he was the fifth or sixth, maybe even I think sixth offensive tackle in his class. And I still think he was a top 50 recruit.
Yeah.
I don't know that you've got six offensive linemen in general, not just offensive tackles, but offensive linemen in general inside the top 100 this year. So you're looking at Daniel Calhoun, a massive man who could play tackle. I like him a little bit more at right tackle. Could play, three other positions on the offensive line, maybe center. This is the kind of guy, man. He weighs 360 pounds right now. There's no telling what he could do or how good he could be if he could get down to 325, 330 and stay there. Nair Daniels, same thing. Nair Daniels might, if you caught Stacy Searles in a moment of candor, he might tell you Nair Daniels is his number one offensive lineman in this class. I don't know that for a fact, but it's possible. I would think he'd probably at least be top 1, 2, maybe 3 there with John Daniels and Brandon Baker. And then, I love Marquise Easley. I think Marquise Easley, to me, is my favorite offensive lineman that Georgia's recruiting. You're talking about a 6'6" to 6'7", 325-pound guy, big hands, big high hips. He moves really well, great feet. He's the twitchiest, most athletic guy. He just doesn't play against as good a competition as Michael Uini or Daniel Calhoun or even Nair Daniels up in New Jersey. He's out in Illinois where it's not exactly a hotbed for line of scrimmage talent, but still love the raw tools there. And Georgia is going to, as of right now, listen, it could change. Kirby Smart could come back off of vacation and be like, all right, guys, listen, we don't need all 4 of these guys. We're just going to take 3. But right now, Georgia's going to try to take all 4 of them. And how can you blame them? How can you blame them? I mean,
the only argument that I could make against it this year is that the 25 class is so loaded. Now, I'm saying that as devil's advocate because I'm always of the mind in recruiting, you take your bird in the hand. All right. If you can get those dudes, you take them while you can get them. But the 25 class, and especially in the state of Georgia, is going to be one of the more impressive cycles we've seen at the offensive line position in some years.
Now, which one of the guys already committed is the offensive lineman? I get them mixed up. Is DeBose the offensive lineman? Or is he DeBose. Okay,
it's DeBose.
Yeah, and he is from Georgia, right? Manchester.
No, no. That's
the D lineman. Oh, yeah, he's the D lineman.
Yeah, he's from Mobile, Alabama.
Okay, yeah, he's gonna be hard to hold on to probably.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, man, I'd take all 6 of these offensive linemen and then save all my NIL money up for David Sanders.
Yeah, sure.
Personally.
All right, I'm doing a little bit of research over here. So, Jake, the 2024 class has 10 offensive linemen in the top 100, none inside the top 20. The 2023 class had 13. Yeah. And I was counting the 2022 class as I started talking, and I lost count.
So it's a little bit down. And not quite as down as I thought it was, and I think that may be from some recent changes, because I know at one point there was like 6 as far as the industry ranking went in the top 100, and now there's 10. I don't think that it's just not an elite offensive line class, and I wonder, where would a Monroe Freeling or where would a Bo Hughley be ranked in this current class?
Well, there are 15 in the class of 2022. So
yeah.
Monroe Freeling
and
probably
in 2023 was considered to be not a great year for offensive line talent either, if I recall.
I was going to say I would guess Monroe Freeling would fall where he did in the On3 rankings, which was the number 1 offensive lineman in America.
Yeah,
and inside the top 10. I think he was number 7 overall in our rankings.
I believe so. Yeah.
But absolutely. I think guys like that would see a big boost this year, and it's. Like I said, you should take them if you can get them. I think that's always the strategy. As good as that 25 class is, and it is special. I mean, there's some really, really great players in state. Some guys Georgia's after heavily already, too. Nikolai Brooks, Cortez Smith out of Parkview, or Columbia or Parkview. Anyway, one of the two. There's some orange involved and a tiger on the helmet, tiger paw. They've got Mason Short's committed to Alabama already in the 25 class, but Georgia's going to stay on him. I mean, they've got Brandon Jacobs' son, who I believe is at Buford, if I'm not mistaken. He's a stud. Yeah, like you said, David Sanders, you feel good about that early on. I don't know that I'm saying like slam dunk good, but you feel like capable that you could possibly win that battle. So there's a lot of talent in that 25 class, but still, man, look, big dudes don't grow on trees. Get as many of them in, let God sort them out, and Scott Sinclair.
But you're also looking at, too, another thing you're looking at is in a span of 13 days, could be in a span of 13 days, because we don't know exactly what what Calhoun's going to do yet. But you've got Uini on the 30th. You've got Nair Daniels on the 4th. You've got Marquise Easley on the 8th. I'm sorry, it's not 13 days. It's 9 days. Because for some reason I had Joseph Jonah Ajonye roped in there deciding on the 12th, and that's just another thing altogether.
He could probably play it too.
I was about to say he could probably pitch in if needed.
And if you wanted to include somebody who came on in OV to Georgia, Casey Poe has that his decision on the 12th.
They're not getting him.
They're not.
100%.
Yeah, but
that's going to Alabama, I think.
That's Rammer Jammer.
So 2025, since Roos has been talking about it, 11 offensive tackles in the top 100.
Offensive tackles.
Yeah.
All in the top 90, actually. So.
And how many of them from Georgia? Do that math real quick for me, Paul.
You got Josh Petty from Roswell.
Yeah, oh boy, I forgot about him. Yes, he's a stud.
And that's it from the top 11.
Oh, wow, that's surprising to me. Listen, I'll tell you this though, and I've heard this from a couple of people. There are a couple Georgia coaches, or there's some talk back there. This is not just Georgia. There are some programs out there that wish some of these 25 guys could reclassify to 24 because the class could really use the bolster.
Now, if you're talking about just overall talent in the state of Georgia, you got 4 kids in the top 20, 2 in the top 10, and
Josh Petty's a dude, man.
14 in the top 100.
Hey, Wes, can we answer this question here from Tomahawk Dog real quick?
Yep.
Tomahawk Dog asks, does Stacy Searles prefer the big men like Sam Pittman does? I think Stacy Searles is kind of I think he wants a good mix. I think he wants a mix of athletes and giant dudes, because you look at last year's class, right? First year, he comes in, he grabs Monroe Freeling, who is sub 300, great athlete, Bo Hughley, Jamal Merriweather. Josh Miller and Kelton Smith are big dudes on the interior, but they're also big, long dudes who knows, may surprise you, be able to play a little tackle for you. They'll get a shot there. They'll work them there at some point.
Kelton Smith at right tackle doesn't seem unbelievable to me.
Yeah, or Josh Miller to me. I mean, watching Josh Miller move on film. But then you looking in this class, old TD, Tomahawk Dog, you look in this class and I mean, where's the beef? Okay.
Where did it all go? What happened? Were they abducted? Did they choose to play different sports? Where'd they all go?
Lots of beef in this class, man, because Marcus Harrison is a gargantuan human being. I'm telling you, he looks like a Rocky villain. And then you've got Malachi Tolliver.
He looks like a henchman.
Big man, yeah.
Go look at a picture of him, man. I mean, like a cold stare on the young man.
Malachi Tolliver's a massive dude. He's a great big old human being. If he's nothing else, he's a massive human being. And then, obviously Nair Daniels, Daniel Calhoun, Marquis Easley. You're talking about an average of about 6'6" to 6'7", 340 pounds, 330 pounds between those guys. So yeah, big dudes.
You're pissing your pants if this guy's staring you down.
Yeah, no question.
Across the table. Yeah.
Like I said when we saw him the first time, I've got a collarbone injury now.
Yeah. No question.
Matthew C. pointing out the kind of the scheme fit for what they're looking for on the O-line here. I don't know if whatever Mike Bobo did in 2014 is necessarily relevant now. But if it was relevant, I still tend to think that you want to have just bigger guys. And here's what I'm thinking about that. The more that you add games onto schedules, and Georgia is going to with the playoff expansion, I think you just need bigger bodies that can last longer into games and longer into seasons, as opposed to some maybe smaller, more athletic O-linemen that can't hold up to a long and bruising SEC schedule plus an expanded playoff on top of that. Maybe I'm looking way too much into that, but I think Georgia is really trying to beef up for a lot of reasons.
No, and I think that, I mean, that's part of the reason why Georgia rotates its offensive linemen, the last couple of years. They know that the 15-game season that they want to play wears on you big time. And so, if you can, decrease that snap count, just a tad bit and get, a sixth offensive lineman, seventh offensive lineman into the game. I mean, the stat last year is 7 offensive linemen played 30% or more of Georgia snaps. That's a lot.
It is. Now, one thing I do want to clear up here, and I don't want to get too inside the football here, but when you're talking about zone scheme, all zone schemes are not created equal. When you look at, late 90s, mid to late 90s Denver Broncos type stuff with Alex Gibbs, that was stretch outside zone. Yes, athletic offensive linemen who can run and then cut a guy down and stuff like that, 100%. But when you start looking at this new modern day zone, which is a lot of what Sam Pittman did, Sam Pittman wasn't a gap scheme guy. He was duo. And duo is basically a combination of zone and power where you don't pull the offensive lineman around. And you need big dudes. And what you want to do is you want to take giant men, you want to put them on a track, and you want to say, go and block anything that crosses your face. And that's kind of how they play that. And so you want big dudes. And listen, they want Bo Hughley and they want Jamal Merriweather to be big men. Okay. They're going to try to get them to eat and work out into big men. I really wish I was 6'6" and could just do that. I don't know how to be good for my blood pressure.
You're a big man. I mean,
I can get big. I know that 100%. I mean, I don't necessarily know that you call a man just a little shy of 5'10", that can put on weight real quick, a big man. You just call him a fat man. But if I was 6'6", they could call me a big man.
Now, here's a question that I've got for you guys, going back to those 2024 offensive linemen. Do we think that the plan is to play some of these guys that are listed as offensive tackles at guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
At
I think
center.
If they need them,
I think you'll cross train all those guys for the most part. I mean, there's going
because
to be
cross training.
Because if you think about it, they're going to lose. In all likelihood, all three of the starting interior offensive linemen.
right?
Now, granted, two of those were recruited as tackles, so there is.
No, they were labeled as tackles.
Labeled
as
tackles. Xavier Truss was a
It doesn't-
tackle. He started
really
the game
doesn't-
at tackle before he started any.
right.
any
I was more meaning Tate Ratledge. I mean,
Tate,
one of them
yeah.
was
But Tate has said that he started his career at tackle and quickly learned and moved inside. Matt Luke told him, "Buddy, you're a guard."
Well, everybody knew Tate Ratledge wasn't going to be a tackle when he showed up at the Army All-American Bowl, and his arms were like 32 and a half inches. I think.
To me, the labels don't mean much anymore. I mean, we're giving our best educated guesses in terms of these rankings, but the reality is, I would say, you got a 50-50 shot. I mean, it's not like guys are just locked in or being. I don't even think in Georgia's case, personally, you're recruiting guys to just be tackles. I think you're just trying to get the biggest dudes in, the most athletic big dudes you can, and then you just figure it out when they get on campus.
Do they even do that with centers? I mean, do they really just bring in whoever they can and just teach whoever they need to play center to snap the football? Or is that a little bit more specialized, you think?
No, to me, that's the one. And, I mean, like Clay Webb, for example, was never going to be a tackle. So you knew that he was going to be an interior offensive lineman whenever he landed. But I mean, Jamari Sawyer was supposed to be the guy at guard and then ends up stepping into the tackle role for Georgia and makes a killing doing it, and then goes on to the NFL and he's holding a spot down there.
I mean, Ernest Green was a top, was the number 3 tackle in his class, and could very well be Georgia's starting left tackle this year.
Roe, am I misremembering on who was it? Isaiah Wynn.
Yeah, what about him?
The interior, right?
Yeah, kind of. I know Vanderbilt and Georgia were both telling him he could play tackle. They both thought he could play tackle, and everybody that ever coached the kid said he could play tackle. And Sam Pittman said he was dumb for playing him at guard in 2016, that he was a left tackle for life. So but the thing with center, I will say this: Cedric Van Pram was recruited to be a center.
Yes.
Jared Wilson was not.
Nope.
He was recruited to be a guard. Austin Blasky 100% was not recruited to play center. Warren Erickson was, to eventually pitch in at center. Clay Webb was and didn't play it.
Was Cablano?
No, not at all. He was recruited to play guard. He actually sucked at center for a
Yeah,
while.
I remember him saying that when he was learning it.
Yeah, he was like, he had to go research a weird way to snap the football because he couldn't get it back there.
Yep.
Trey Hill, I don't think was necessarily recruited to play center. Maybe with that in mind. I mean, I think they've got an inkling.
He was from center, so I thought maybe that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. I thought he played tackle for that team.
Yeah, I believe that. That's what I thought.
I remembered him snapping the ball to Jake Fromm at Houston County. Maybe I'm misremembering that.
But he was. I mean, if you look back on that class, that's a great example. I mean, it was Trey and Jamari in the same class, and both of those guys were thought of as, in most cases, like the 1 or 2 guards in the class. I mean, they were, and both of those guys ended up.
And that was back when we had guards and centers and everything was split up.
Exactly. And
one ended up playing center, another ended up playing tackle.
Yep, exactly.
Guys, this is really impressive that we devoted this much time to the offensive line, and we still
love
have
linemen.
this many people watching and commenting. That proves to me that you are all damn good dogs, because you know how important the offensive line is.